In early 2011, during the Arab Spring, protests against Syrian President Bashar al-Assad led to a full-blown effort for revolution in Syria. By 2013, the CIA was funding the Syrian rebels in aims to topple the government. But why Syria? Syria and Iran are bound by a mutual defense treaty. The US and established Western media for at least a decade have been fear-mongering about Iran supposedly trying to build nuclear weapons, which could lead to devastation in the area, namely to a conflict with Israel. Iran is the 5th largest oil producer in the world, and Russia is tied with Saudi Arabia as the largest world producer. Iran also holds 18% of the world's natural gas reserves. Syria and Iran are both enemies of Saudi Arabia, a United States ally. The Sunni-Shia conflict is multiple centuries old. Syria is 75% Sunni, but the government is primarily from a Shia sect, although governing non-religiously. In 2009, Qatar proposed a natural gas pipeline through Syria and Turkey to Europe. President Assad rejected this, and in 2011, Assad forged a plan with Iraq and Iran to build their own pipeline eastward. Russia and China have become even closer in recent years as things heat up, establishing trade and oil deals with Iran, especially in the face of both Russia and Iran under heavy Western sanctions. Repeated warnings have come from China and Russia against interfering in their affairs. Attempting to push a complete war in Syria, in early 2013, Western media claimed that the Syrian government had used chemical weapons on their own citizens. In reality, it was anti-government rebels. In September 2013, Senator Lindsey Graham, former Air Force colonel, proclaimed that a nuclear attack could occur on the United States East Coast if a war was not started with Syria. When the U.S. public's strong opposition to a new war overcame the propaganda, new tensions would rise just months later in another part of the world, Eastern Europe. After Ukraine refused to join the EU and instead partnered closer with Russia's Eurasian Union, a conflict erupted that eliminated the current government headquartered in Kiev. Crimea, a somewhat autonomous state off southern Ukraine, held a referendum where they voted to reunify with the Russian Federation. Western media framed the event as an invasion from Russia. Only 18 countries recognized Crimea's annexation. The UN General Assembly also declared that the incorporation of Crimea into Russia was illegal. In contrast, the new Ukrainian government was recognized by the US and European Union, despite Russia claiming the new government was the result of a coup. Control of Ukraine is critical because of energy pipeline routes. Europe gets 30% of its natural gas from Russia. The MH17 plane incident was used as a tactic to demonize Russia. Western media stopped reporting on it after the facts were revealed that it was likely shot down from within the air. As the new Ukrainian government tried to join the EU, backlash from eastern Ukraine, which borders Russia, led to the IMF warning they could withhold bailout funds if Ukraine didn't solidify control over its eastern region. A leaked call between U.S. Assistant Secretary of State and U.S. Ambassador to Kiev revealed intention to manipulate the Ukrainian government to further U.S. interests. The U.S. spent $5 billion to, quote, ensure a secure and prosperous and democratic Ukraine. Unfortunately for the powers that be, sanctions imposed on Russia have mostly failed. They've pushed Russia and China into closer cooperation and accelerated their leave from using the US dollar. Russia also enlisted counter-sanctions against European nations who went along with US sanctions on Russia. Europe's economy has been hurt from disrupted trade, and Germany especially is wary of continued trade barriers between itself and Russia. Having global trade predominantly in dollars provides Washington with powerful financial weapons known as sanctions. When Iraq wanted to trade oil for euros in 2000, or in 2009 when Libya wanted a gold-backed currency to trade oil for, within a few years of each, the US destroyed each country's government through war. In May, Russia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan signed an agreement establishing the Eurasian Economic Union. October 2014, OPEC announces that they will not cut oil production with prices above $80 a barrel. Despite it being almost a 2-year low, Russia's break-even price for oil is $100, and Iran is much higher at $130 per barrel. Oil price suppression is part of the war games. OPEC increased production for September to its highest level in almost 2 years. Oil revenues account for about 45% of Russia's budget. The oil price crash in the late 1980s contributed to the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991. Russia has further warned the U.S. that attacking Syria without UN Security Council resolution would be an aggression with the potential to go nuclear. Russian ships have been placed in the Mediterranean for the first time since the Cold War era. This is the start of World War III. To see how World War III could play out, go to crushthestreet.com/war. You may also want to check out The Death of King Dollar, detailing why there will be an economic collapse for the United States. This is one reason behind World War III. Prepare your family for potential devastation. Go to crushthestreet.com/war.